Hello, everybody, and welcome to Libromancy, a podcast about the magic of books. I'm Josh, and today I'm talking about Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So let's spin the magic of books. Let's just keep this non-spoiler for a minute or two here. I really like Spinning Silver. I've really liked a lot of Naomi Novik's books. This is not the first one I've read. I've read Uprooted. I've read the first book in her Temeraire series, and I've read the Deadly Education series. Really, or the Scoldomance series, technically, I guess is its true name. But I've liked all of them. I think she has a real strength with these short novels like this that are standalone. Uprooted and Spinning Silver, I think, are some of her best works. I did not love the Temeraire series. I have not finished it yet. It wasn't bad enough that I was DNFing it. It wasn't bad at all. It was good. It just wasn't my feelings. There's a couple things in there that I just didn't click with me when I was reading it, and I'm going to definitely try and go back. But let's talk about Spinning Silver. So, Spinning Silver, this is my second time reading it, and as I was reading it, I started up, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this character. Oh yeah, I forgot about that character. And just like how kind of important they are, it was very interesting to reread it again. I love the way that Naomi Novik is able to just kind of plop you into this Slavic language area, and it makes sense, and all the words sound right, and it feels like a real place, and the way the characters act feel good to me. This one, I like this one. This one is a fairy tale retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, kind of. Like, she's very good at taking these myths and these fairy tales or these folk tales and then just kind of changing them and warping them to fit the story. As you can tell, spinning silver, spinning straw into silver. Now, this isn't straw into gold. Excuse me. Now, this isn't exactly the same, of course, but that is a good kind of starting place to think about what this book is going to be about. And she even throws in a couple other references to other fairy tales inside of there. If you're looking, you can catch them. I think I noticed at least one or two references to a Cinderella type story, right? Happening at the same time. Well, not happening at the same time. That implies that just like a reference or an Easter egg to the Cinderella story. How about that? And as I'm reading, I did not find any big flaws in logic or in story that would make me say like, oh, this was so off. Why did it happen like this? Oh, what happened here? This is, wrong. So I like that. I think she's able to very consistently write these standalone books. And I'm really looking forward to seeing her next standalone book come out, because I really do think this is one of her biggest strengths here. Now, I think we're going to have to get into it because there's so much to talk about and there's so many characters and there's such a good plot. So let's talk a little bit about our characters and our plot, and then we'll kind of get into some fun things that I really enjoyed about it. We start with Miriam. She's one of our main characters. There are three kind of main characters. I would definitely say Miriam is the top main character. And then below her we have Wanda and Irina. And I would have to say that Irina is the second kind of main character here. But Miriam is the daughter of a bad moneylender who never goes and gets his money back from people. And she's tired of being cold and hungry and sad. So she goes and gets into the business herself, makes herself cold. This leads to some really interesting family stuff, right? And it also leads to a lot of other things happening. She ends up helping Wanda by insisting that Wanda has to come and work off her father's debt. She almost destroys the entire Stark realm, and things are going to turn out okay in the end. So she is making this money, and as she's driving through the forest, I don't know who it was that says it. I think her dad says, well, you really can turn silver into gold. And this was not like an intentional thing on their part, but what ends up happening is that the Stark hear that and they, put out to prove her. So they give her more silver. She has to turn it to gold. Otherwise she'll be, killed and frozen into ice. They bring her an increasingly large amount each time. She takes it to a jeweler. The jeweler works it, and then they sell it and they make the gold, give the money back to the Stark. And then eventually not eventually, but after the second time, he says, if you do this, you'll be my wife and my queen. And I don't, and he could tell the Stark doesn't want that because he keeps trying to get her to fail. But she succeeds. She ends up going into the Stark realm, where she spends all of her time trying to get back out and trying to understand what's happening to her at the same time. And then at the same time, Wanda is living her life trying to get away from her abusive father, who is a horrible person and I'm glad dies, but should have died earlier because he's just a horrible, horrible person. And I would want to beat him too. And I'm glad that her and Sergei and Stepan were able to stand up for themselves. I only wish that his death had been more painful and more sad. Sad for him, not for anybody else, right? Yeah, Stepan and Sergei and Wanda are a little sad, but it's mostly because they think they're going to be framed for his death. And that's rightfully so. But I think when you beat your children like that, you deserve an untimely death. A very sad and untimely death. But if it would have been more protracted, I wouldn't have batted one eye because I feel he really deserved it. Personal opinion there. But let's talk about Irina. Irina is the daughter of the Duke. She is getting this fairy worked silver, and then that's used to catch the eye of the Tsar. And I can't remember his name right now, but it was a nice Russian type or Slavic sounding name. The Tsar, unfortunately, has a demon inside of him, Chernobog to be specific. They hatch a plan. Not they hatch a plan. Irina is able to avoid the demon who wants to eat her by hiding in the Starik land by use of the enchanted or the fairy silver. She's able to kind of go back and forth through a mirror. And this is skipping over a lot of stuff, so I'm trying not to give an exact reckoning of every part of the book. But they eventually make a deal with Irina and the Chernobog and Miriam, that they will use her, capture the Starik Lord. He can feast on the Starik Lord. They do that. I'm just like, come on, you guys. It's a demon that just wants to eat. It's not like a good guy. Like, he throws a huge fit, destroys everything because he can't find Irina right away. Like, why would you think you could trust him? And they know they really can't, but man, Irina is just like ruthless in this. She's just like, oh no, I need to get out of this 100%. I'm going to have to sacrifice whoever or whatever to make sure my kingdom's safe. And it's like, dang, I appreciate that. Like, that's good, leadership quality to have leadership, not my people, but thine. But like, geez, that's just ruthless and like mean, like a whole realm just because, and I really like that. I don't remember who asked, but I think it's Miriam's grandfather. He's like, we all know that winter's coming longer and longer, but we don't, we have to ask the Starik Lord, why are they holding winter longer? Why are they making it worse for us? They didn't do this in years past. Obviously something has happened and what's going on. Come to find out that the sorcerer or the sorceress, who is the Tsar's mom, kind of broke open something in the Starik realm, and that's causing them to have to try and contain it with more and more gold and more of summer's light. So their gold is actually kind of capturing summer, right? It's an interesting play. She really works these things in smoothly and like easily. It's so much fun when you're reading it. So eventually Miriam frees the Starik Lord. They're able to make it back through a long set of series of events. They're trying to stop Chernobog, who is ravaging the land and just kind of eating and pillaging and destroying as he wants. Miriam uses her gift to turn all of a lot of silver into gold, which immediately starts to melt from the presence of Chernobog, who is this hot, fiery presence, right? And then they're able to use that to fix the hole that he's created. And it was really funny because this book has a lot of the fairy things. You ask and I'll say true. You ask and I'll answer and I won't lie. And if you ask 3 times, you say it 3 times, that makes it a binding oath. That's why she has to prove herself 3 times with the fairy silver. And anytime I say fairy, I just mean the Starik silver, right? So she has to prove herself 3 times. She gets to ask 3 questions every night, She's able, this repeating thing of 3s, and then she goes up in the thought that there's the idea pushed and explained that, like, if you get set a big challenge and you complete it, then that enables big magic, right? Because that's what your reward is commensurate to your task. And so she sets herself this big challenge of like, I'm going to stop you and I'm going to do it and you're going to fix that hole. And then it happens. And then she's able to, save the world, and they're able to defeat Chernobog because he goes back to the Tsar and Irina. And he's like, I'm going to eat you now. And she's like, no, because all I've ever wanted from you is to be left alone and for you to not hurt me and mine. And so the demon is not able to, attack them anymore. She's like, and as the Tsarina, everything is mine. Everyone in is mine. So you're going to die. Even the Tsar is mine. And the Tsar is really interesting because he's had this demon from birth and nobody's ever liked him because of it. And now she's freed him from that basically. And you can see that he really does like her and love her. Or he's starting to love her, I think, near the end. So, all right, let's talk about some fun things. Or maybe not some fun things. I like that the dynamic between Chernobog and the Stardic Lord, they're just so different. The Stardic Lord is patient. Well, he's not patient, but he's not greedy. You know, he wants what he wants. And every time I think of the Stardics, I picture them as like sheets of ice almost, or like blocks of ice. She uses such good descriptive words for them that I rarely see them as like actually like human-like. I mean, I know they're human-like because she talks about their faces and their arms and everything, and they're very, very humanoid. But in my head, they just kind of I picture them almost as like humanoid pieces of ice. It's really silly, but like they are a good thing, and I love the ones that she befriends and she meets. She meets Flep and Sop, and they won't give their names, right? They don't give their true names, but she's able to name Flep's daughter, and she names her Rebecca Flop or something, Flep, and it's just really, it's really nice that she meets them, she's working with them, they're helping her. This is a funny scene where she's given this incredible task of changing all the silver in these 3 huge storerooms into silver, from silver into gold, and she's only given 3 days to do it, and it's like barely possible for her to get the first and smallest of the storerooms done by changing them into silver and gold. So she says, well, you know what? I was given this incredible task and I want to make it to my cousin's wedding so that I can, trap the Stardic Lord. And I'm like, just ask the Stardic Lord, why do you need the gold? Why are you trying to hurt our people? And it's like, if you would ask that, then you'd know why he's doing it. Maybe you could have come up with a better plan to stop this so that the winter didn't have to keep coming. But she didn't. And so she's given this impossible task. But she ends up coming up with an idea. She's like, okay, Chopin, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry. But in Flip and Sop, she's like, you guys start loading all of the silver out of the storeroom, because the words of the task were all the silver in the storeroom. So you guys get as much of it out as you can. I'll convert as much as I can. She's able to do it. She gets most of it out of the storeroom and into like the tunnel or like away. The Fairy Lord comes in, or the Stardic Lord comes in. He looks around. He's really angry, but also like satisfied at the same time. And he's like, you know what? You got me. You changed all the silver in the storeroom to gold. Therefore I can do it. And she's like, oh, and then this is when we learn that like a big challenge produces big magic. And that it's just funny because he's like, oh, you can go. So we can go anytime. Make ready and I'll hold back time until we get there. And it's like, oh, that's just something you can casually do. Well, I mean, not casually, but like you can do. Cool. I like it. And I really liked that like Wanda and Miriam and Anita, they all solve their problems through like thinking and being smart and calm. It's not that they have to try and one up the boys or the men of the book in like physical strength. They think about their problems and they know what they do to solve it. When Irina becomes the Tsardina, she immediately is thinking, okay, how can I turn this to my advantage? What do I need to do to make it so that I'm safe? It leads to like a lot of sadness in the Stardic realm, but from the get-go, she's like, okay, we need to meet with this Lord. You got to marry this girl off. You need to meet with him, and, proving her worth and showing like, I am smart. And she's like, I need to hide from the demon and from the Tsar until I can make a deal with him. She does. Miriam is so cold and tired, and she's like finally fed up with being, poor, because nobody wants to pay their money back that they owed. And it's like, I'm with Miriam on this. Like, these people suck, and they are not good people. If you take money out from a moneylender, or you take a loan, and I'm not saying that you can't take a loan, I'm just saying, especially where it's a person like this, where it's Miriam, and they're not paying their family because they're Jews, right? Which is an interesting whole dynamic throughout the whole story, that they're Jews and nobody else is, or other things, right? But so she goes and she starts collecting, and she has to make herself cold to do it, right? Because she has to say like, oh, I can't give them any excuse to just not pay, or they won't pay, right? And it's just like, you go, Miriam, you're the best. And Wanda, it's like she goes from this horrible family situation where she's mad at her brothers because they came into her life and took away her mom from her, and then her mom dies, trying to have another baby in the beginning of the book, to her abusive dad, who just beats her all the time and how she's supposed to do that, like, cope with that. And then she meets the Mandelstums, which is, Miriam and their family, and her parents are just like, oh, we love you, you're so nice, we, come over, like, let's pay you some money. Like, and Miriam is like, oh, I'll pay you more money, but Wanda's like, oh, if you pay me more money, then I'm going to be done with my debt sooner, and I don't want that, but, like, I can't say no to you paying me more money because you're the one in charge. And the themes of, like, debts and obligations were, like, throughout this book, and it's so good, and I really love it, and I really think everybody should give it a chance. It's not too long, and I think that's going to wrap up my discussion of Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. I really like this book. I think she writes really well. It's a fun story, a nice fairy tale ripoff in a good way. Thanks for listening, everybody, and thanks to David Hillowitz for the intro and outro music. Of course, if you have any questions or comments, you can send those to libromancypod@gmail.com. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts from. That always helps out a lot. And remember to spin the magic of books.